Remember a couple of days ago, we were all saying, okay, me, yakking at you, saying when it looked like they had the votes to end the shutdown and that was going to happen, and we all kind of like looked back and we said, that past month, what was that for? What did we get out of that besides political infighting and nonsense and lives disrupted and blah, blah, blah? Nothing. Well, hold on a second now. Maybe we did get something out of it, because there's always a counter reaction, right? We may have the first opportunity in a long, long time to fix the healthcare system, which is a long shot, and it's probably not going to happen now, but it's going to take everybody. This is one of those call to action podcasts. But it's true. For the first time in a long time, people are talking about fixing the horrific, ridiculous, funked up, stupid healthcare system we live under right now, and it affects everybody. And let me tell you something. If you're looking for, we're all looking for the unifying effort, right? The unifying message, something we can all agree on. This might be the one. Because let me ask you this. Do you know anybody in your life, anybody, that likes the healthcare system we live under now? Do you know any? Because I'll tell you right now, I don't know anybody. Family, friends, employees, former employers, anybody who likes the healthcare system we go under right now. But here's the good news, and there's always good news. For the first time in a long time, you've got a lot of people talking about changing this, and they may have the support for it. So we'll get into that, as well as, speaking of the shutdown, we got a story of a hero pilot. Maybe you saw this video already, but what to do about a guy like this? I say thank him. A hero pilot that during the shutdown calmed his plane full of irate passengers down in a great, great way. I've got the video to talk about too, so thanks for finding me. I appreciate you so much. It's midweek already. Wicked Awesome Wednesday, Wicked Radio Podcast, and the live stream right now, but lives on as a podcast after on the replay. Audio podcast downloads as well. Let's get right to it. First of all, a recap, an update from a story we had on yesterday. Remember I had the story yesterday about the BBC? Amazingly, only last year, fraudulently slandering President Trump, the BBC in the UK, with a selectively, deceptively edited video of January 6th, something that our U.S. media tried 4 years prior to that. But they tried it last year before our election to try to upend our election and sow more division in our country. Remember we said maybe he needs to sue the BBC, a foreign media entity, like he did with, successfully, CBS and ABC here for doing the same thing. Well, update. Last night I did an interview with Laura Ingraham. By the way, more on that later because she kind of slammed him on some foreign workers. But anyway, this was the part where she asked him about the BBC. It looks as though he's going to go litigious.
Are you going ahead and suing the BBC?
Well, I guess I have to. You know, why not? Because they defrauded the public, and they've admitted it, and their top echelon.
Director General and the CEO
This
both
is
resigned.
within one of our great allies. You know, this is supposedly our great ally. BBC, the government has a chunk of that one, I guess. But that's a pretty sad event. They actually changed my January 6th speech, which was a beautiful speech, which was a very calming speech, and they made it.
And of course he went on. It was a beautiful speech. It was unbelievable. It was calming. It was nobody's ever had a better speech in their life. Okay. But outside of the Trumpisms, he's right. And he kind of indicates more than he ever has that he's going to sue them too. Takes a lot more. Hasn't announced it quite yet because I think it's more involved than just suing ABC or NBC or somebody over here. But it looks as though he's going to do it. Now, could you look at this and say, well, that's kind of petty. That's vindictive. You're the president. You should just overlook this kind of stuff. As previous presidents, Republican and Democrat, have before. Could you look at it that way and say, oh, he's just being kind of petty? Sure you could. Absolutely you could. But you could look at it another way too. If they did this to you and you had the means and the legal arm that he has and the legal power that he has, wouldn't you? Because I am here to tell you, hand on heart, swear to God, I would sue those people within every power I have. Not to get back at them, to make sure it doesn't happen to other people. You have to. I'm not in big favor of like litigious, frivolous lawsuits. Nobody should be in favor of that. But this is really important to push back on them in his position. Because if you don't, they're just going to keep getting away with it. I mean, this isn't just like a media outlet that has a political take and they don't happen to like him. That's, good God, that's our media these days, right? That's just the way it is. And they have a right to do so, actually. But to deceptively edit a video to try to lie about it, which, by the way, like our PBS, Corporation for Public Broadcasting is taxpayer funded. So is theirs. That's a government outlet. He has to sue them. So call it whatever you want. Vindictive, petty, childish. Me, I kind of like that, and I think it serves an important purpose. So they're going to keep trying to do this kind of stuff unless you push back on them. So that's the update there, and I think he actually is so. Good. I was glad to hear him say that, actually. All right. What did we get out of the shutdown? Frustration, bunch of stress, and it still amazes me, though, that I heard from a lot of you guys in the comments the end of last week. If you weren't talking about it, or if it wasn't in the news, I wouldn't even know there was a shutdown. Well, great, good for you. You're a unicorn on this, because everybody else that I know of, and me personally, was dealing with it, with travel and with trying to, government loans and paperwork, and it affected me. I'll tell you that much. So good for you if it didn't, but it affected most of this country, whether they realize it or not. But what did we get out of it? Well, on the surface, it doesn't look like anything. But here's the great news. It's starting to look like we did get something very important out of it. The discussion, and I mean a real discussion, of getting rid of this ridiculous, asinine, defunct, fraudulent, blood-sucking healthcare system we live under right now. It's going to take a long, long time to fix this. But for the first time in a long time, there are serious, serious discussions about what Obamacare does. And the most important part of this whole element is most people realizing exactly how the insurance companies have been benefiting on this. Now, the great Scott Jennings on CNN last night, he's kind of like their punching dummy, except he always makes them look like fools. He summarized it so well. What was the biggest outcome of that government shutdown? Obamacare got exposed to the country.
Obamacare has been exposed as a complete and utter failure. We all know it now. Everybody admits it. The other thing that came out is that Democrats are willing to make people suffer.
Yep, that we know. But the first part, what he said was the most important thing. You have just keep your ear to the ground. What are people talking about these days? What do you hear with this discussion? I guarantee you, at lunch, at work, tonight at dinner, out with friends, watching a ball game on Sunday, you hear people talking about, for the first time, and understanding more about our current healthcare system more than ever before. And for the first time ever, I really mean ever, you've got wimpy, clueless Republicans who are starting to push back on this. And even some Democrats who realize the jig is up. This is ridiculous what's happening here. Now, they weren't the first to talk about it. President Trump announced this, has been talking about this for a long time now, but in earnest for the past couple of weeks. This was from, I think it was probably like 3-4 days ago.
I hope that we're going to be able to have a health care where Lindsay and I were discussing it, Jim and I were discussing it, and Katie, we discussed it. We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies. And I tell you, we're going to be working on that very hard over the next short period of time, where the people get the money. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars where the people get the money. Yes, please.
It gets confusing. I venture to guess there's nothing more confusing than talking about a healthcare system. And by the way, keep this in mind, as always, as a smart consumer, they do that by design. It's never supposed to be this complicated. But regardless, just so I'm not talking out of my ass here and try to understand it along with you, let's go to some details about what does he mean? What does he mean about the money going to the people's pocket? What is, instead of these subsidies going to people instead of the insurance companies, who, by the way, Trump has called blood-sucking before. That's where his strong language actually plays a part and is actually helpful. All right, so what he's talking about here, what some of the Republicans, more on them in a second, are talking about, they're proposing redirecting billions in federal funds, and I'm reading off a compiled list of ChatGPT and Grok coming up with this to try to understand and encapsulate it for all of us. Redirecting the billions in federal funds currently used for Obamacare, ACA, Affordable Care Act, premium subsidies, paid directly to insurers right now, straight to individual Americans instead, and it would go to like a health fund. You'd have a private health fund, bankroll ready to go for that specific purpose. Now, the first part of it is shocking because most of us never even realized that was actually happening. You go to work, you go to school, you deal with it, you're sick, you have to pay a ridiculous copay, whatever it is. The subsidies that are in the system were going to not you, so you didn't really use it, It goes right to the insurance companies, whichever one you have, which right there sounds insane, and you're right, because it just is, but that's the way it's been going. And this is where Trump was right in calling these insurance companies bloodsuckers. So instead of the subsidies going to the insurance companies to lower premiums, which is what they were supposed to do, and they haven't, the money would be deposited into like a personal account, like call it like a health savings account or something like that, or flexible spending like that. And this is the funny part. Now, if this comes to pass, and again, they have a long way to go. Of course, Trump's going to call it Trump Care. That's the ego part of him. But, whatever. Obama called it Obamacare. Fine. If you fix this system, call it whatever the hell you want. Now, the Democrats, for their part, are claiming that, and this part of it's true. So the subsidy program is supposed to end at the end of the year, December 31st. And they're saying, if that ends and we don't have anything, premiums are just going to skyrocket. You're going to leave people hanging out to dry. And okay, so we're under the gun. Good. This is time to, while you're doing this, while you're looking at this broken system, time to come up with something to fix it. It may wind up being at the end of the year, at the end of next month, it may wind up being sticking with the same system, maybe. But I'm telling you, take this as good news, and this is where you and me and everybody else come into play. Put the pressure on. It's really true. You need to contact your elected officials, government officials, your insurance company. Make your voice heard, because your voice does matter. You're the media now. Make them all understand that you're in favor of blowing up this ridiculous, gross blood-sucking system, because we can't go on much further. Nobody likes their health insurance. I guarantee it. This is the unifying issue in the nation right now. Find it. Ask people. Find somebody that loves their insurance. Find some. Amazing. Because I've looked. I've asked. I know a lot of people. I have employees. I have friends. I have family. I'm an insurance provider myself. No one likes what we have now. All it did was make it more expensive and crappy for everybody. This could be the unifying nation if we get the message out correctly. All right, speaking of the message, here's the good sign. Here's how they're starting to listen. For the first time in forever, you've got wimpy, tone-deaf Republicans starting to listen to this thing, and they're starting to take some action. Usually they sit on their ass and they do nothing. I mean, we all know that. They just don't do anything. And the Democrats want to keep the system going because it's Obamacare. Their Lord and Savior has his name on it. We can't change it. Well, here's an example. Tim Burchett. You got Tim Burchett from Tennessee, back home now, and he's doing an interview, and he's in his sweatshirt, and he's getting ready, he's rolling up his sleeves, getting ready down to business. This is important. A guy like this, ready to change it, and actually talking like this.
It seems kind of crazy, but in the future, maybe we ought to bring the patients and the doctors to the table and tell the insurance companies they can go take a flying leap because they've screwed this program up by their greed, and the politicians' greed, who are getting funded in their campaigns by them. That's what needs to happen, ma'am. And we've got plans out there that'll work, I believe, if we could just get them to the table. I think we've had enough hearings. I think we need to just start bringing stuff to the table and start voting on it. That's what I'm...
God, is that refreshing. Now, will he follow through on that? Will the rest of them follow through on that? I will tell you, just researching it, there's a lot of support now for this, because why? I go back to it again. They're starting to listen to us. You make enough noise in your district, wherever you are, they do start to listen. And I'm telling you, they're starting to understand this is a unifying, very, very popular issue, despite the fear, is to get rid of this stupid healthcare system we have and do something that works and put the power in the hands of the consumer. I want an individual healthcare account. I want a flexible spending account where subsidies go to me and I can put them towards something else. And why isn't it that way? Subsidy not going to the consumer? Like, were you even aware that was happening? This is why we're Trump, listen, Trump loves to throw out insults and the strong language and the rotten and the petty stuff, and you can call it childish. But when he says something like blood-sucking insurance companies, it gets people to look at it and say, why is he calling insurance companies blood-sucking? It's because of things like this, because they have done nothing but make all of the, all of their, customers who are supposedly getting coverage in their system, they know they're getting screwed. They know that they're not doing their best for people. They know that, and they've done nothing because they're profiting by the billions every single year. This is where this has to change. So the first trickle of an idea to change this thing and blow it up and to get to something better is starting. I'm here to warn you, it's going to probably take many years from now, but this is where it starts. So make your voices heard. Here's another result of the shutdown. So this is starting. This was, speaking of rotten and petty. So Pete Buttigieg, remember Pete? Remember Pothole Pete, Mayor Pete, who has strong aspirations to run for the next presidential election. Like he really is. He's one of their golden guys. They want to run him. He took a bunch of shots this past week. I don't know if you noticed because you just don't want to deal with them. A bunch of shots at the current administration for the air traffic controllers. And, they weren't getting paid. A lot of them weren't going to work. Some of them were deferred payments and all that other stuff. This is something else that's different. So the current transportation, by the way, as you know, Pete was the previous transportation secretary. The current transportation secretary, Sean Duffy, fired back. Again, petty, vindictive. I kind of like this because you tend to get the truth about what these people are all about. I thought this was good.
Let's go over Pothole Pete's record, right? So there were 85 near misses, Sean, in the Potomac before the DCA air crash. Pete did nothing. He spent $80 billion on DEI and on climate change. He lowered the standards for training at the FAA. He focused on pronouns at the FAA, changing those things, but never worked to fix the air traffic control system. Didn't work on bringing more air traffic controllers into the system. And so what he's trying to do is rewrite his record because he wants to run for president. But the truth is, he barely showed up at the DOT. He was in Michigan and other places, but he was no-show Pete. And now he wants to rewrite it so he can run for president. And he's going after me and President Trump. We're not going to take it.
I like it, and I know there's still a lot of viewers say like, oh, enough with the name calling. Would you just, yeah, I prefer it. I don't know. First of all, stand up for yourself and point out the point out the inadequacies of the guy that had the position before. And you get to the real issue and you find out what these people are all about. So I don't know. I'll take it. And we all know. And again, I heard from a lot of you guys last week. It's like, I wasn't affected by the shutdown at all. Okay, well, you probably didn't travel. You probably don't have an SBA loan that you're waiting on. You probably don't have another government thing. You're probably not a federal worker. So there were a lot of people affected, including travelers. Personally, in my life, I had family members who were stuck in an airport over this weekend. Literally, I'm not lying to you. Literally stuck traveling in two different cases for two different people, 24 hours at a time. That literally happened because of the flight delays and the problems and the stress and the backup flights. It was an absolute mess. I mean, that happened in my life personally. It happened. And people were pissed and people were afraid and people were stressed out. In every one of these situations, somebody always steps out. I'm not a big fan of like pilots or flight attendants, grabbing the intercom microphone and making a show for themselves, literally to a captive audience. But here's an example where a Delta pilot, and this video is now going viral, as the kids say, of calming his passengers down. I think the way he did it was fantastic. Why? Why did it work? Because he personalized it. Me, I think this guy's a hero. And just to give you some reference and to give you some background to this one, he decided to grab the intercom and to speak before his plane load of pissed off people because they were, according to the flight attendants off the record, they were like ready to riot on this plane. They were pissed, but not, you could hear a pin drop when he started speaking. This guy, this is how you do it.
I know we probably have quite a few nervous flyers today. It is perfectly understandable. I want to emphasize this aircraft does not move a single inch unless both my co-captain Michael and myself are absolutely certain it's safe to do so. Top that off, before I left the house on this trip, my little one has learned the word ice cream, and she made me make sure I promised her to get her ice cream when I get back home from the trip. That being said, nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing unsafe comes in between me, that little girl, and her ice cream. I know you guys probably have some similar plans, maybe not tonight, but probably tomorrow afternoon once we get you up to Raleigh. Please feel free to join our Wi-Fi and take care of picking out which place you guys are going to get ice cream, or shoot your friends and family text about what you guys are doing on the flight. It's going to be short. Should be a really nice day to go flying. We'll get you guys up there safely. Again, thank you so much for your help here in the boarding process. We'll get underway. Welcome aboard.
Why did that work? Why did that calm an irate plane full of people down? Because he personalized it. And he said, and the message was, we're going to get there. Thank you for your patience, but we're going to get there, including me, because I have a life too. If you ever run into somebody, like, pilot or not, anybody that like makes your experience better out there in the world, out there in the wild, thank them. I don't have a video of this, but I would imagine the people exiting the plane when they finally got home to get their ice cream, I bet you each and every one of them stopped by to say thank you, because that's people like that. Those are heroes. That guy's great. In a tough situation, made it better. All right. The takeaway, this shutdown sucked. It did. And it's almost officially over. But there is a positive takeaway from this whole thing. We may get something positive out of this, but you got to still fight and make your voices heard. And don't put up with that, what we have now. These elected politicians are starting to listen to you. Make your voices heard. You want a better system. So that's today's takeaway. It's Wednesday. Make it a wicked awesome Wednesday. Be safe. Be good. And no matter what's in the news, tomorrow we'll be talking about it. In the meantime, thanks for likes, shares, follows, subscribes on the audio-only podcast. Wherever you look for Wicked Radio with me, Bill Adams, you're going to find it. And I'll talk to you tomorrow.